At the beginning of time, aliens came to the Earth to create the ultimate organic weapon. They created mankind. By planting a special gene into man, they created the zoonoids, humans who can change at will into super monster soldiers. Eons later, the zoonoid leader, called the Zoolord, has awakened and formed the Kronos Corporation to further develop the zoonoid technology for world domination. Among the alien remains was found the Unit, a bio-boosted alien armor. Worn by the aliens, it serves as an ordinary shield. If the wearer is human, it increases his natural powers 100-fold. He becomes the Guyver. But how to activate it remains a mystery. Dr. Tetsu Sagawa, a research scientist at Kronos, senses danger if this unit is activated by the Zoolord. Now the doctor has stolen it and is on the run.
And we're here to find that doctor. I'm Zoolord MacGyver, principal stakeholder in the Kronos Corporation.
I'm Ben Sheets, and I don't know how many times I have to tell you guys, I'm not a racist gremlin. Don't believe the rumors.
That remains to be seen.
I'm Cleveland Mosier, Luke Skywalker, CIA agent.
Welcome back to the Pod People, the scariest podcast in the whole wide world. And today we're going back to 1991 to a darker version of your Saturday morning cartoon routine. And we're going to be talking about the Guyver. But first, before we do, we have some business to take care of.
Indeed, we predicted a little movie last week that we covered called Gretel and Hansel. We have results. And so first, for Rotten Tomatoes score, Tease, you predicted it would get a 77. Cleve, you predicted 88. And I predicted 66. I just checked it right before recording, and it actually went up to 61.
Oh, shit.
It was at 56. So it went from rotten to fresh since the last time I checked.
Well,
just barely.
You would have won that anyway, but it put you even closer.
Yes.
I'm kind of not surprised.
It's a kind of divisive movie for sure.
I'm glad it went up, though, at least, to that amount.
Yeah.
I think that's a fine place for it to sit.
Yeah, for the box office opening weekend results, Tease, you predicted 10 million. Cleve, you predicted 25 million.
Uh-oh.
And I predicted 5 million.
I got a new prediction. It's not that.
It ended up getting 6.1 million this week.
Damn, you were really close on both of those.
Yeah.
I know, I was so close.
And I'm finally coming back a little bit here. So, Tease, you have 2 points so far. Cleve, you have 3, and I have 3 now as well.
Oh, you rat bastard.
In terms
coming
of...
to take my seat.
Yes.
Take my
Coming
throne.
for the king.
Coming for the throne.
You won't.
Well, in terms of how close we were to our predicted scores, Cleveland, you got the closest. You predicted you would give that movie a 5, and I believe you gave it a 4.5.
Yeah.
Or maybe a 5?
I gave
No,
it
you
a 4.5.
gave it 4.5.
Okay,
I gave it a 4.5. I definitely did give it a 5. Yeah, in hindsight, I don't know. I was talking
only
to friends
1 week ago.
I was talking to friends the other day, and they asked me what movie I'd reviewed for the podcast, and I literally couldn't remember. I had forgotten, and I was like, what movie was it? Was really late at night, but even then, I was just like, yeah, what movie did I see? Oh yeah, I saw a movie. I gave a 4.5 for it.
Some of that sticking power
Yeah.
has diminished a little bit.
Well, what I'll say, I still haven't seen it again, and I did leave the movie, really wanting to already see it again because we had such a bad viewing experience,
Yeah.
at the theater. It was, literally, having to listen to the movie over the audience. We talked about it already on the podcast, but I don't know. I was maybe being a little too over generous with the movie. Like a 4. I know, still liked it, but... Anyway.
What did you and I have been in terms of prelim?
Let's see. I
predictions?
think you predicted a 4.5, Tease, and I
Nice.
predicted a 3. So I was 1 point off. You were...
I was a point and a half
and a
off.
half, and Cleveland was half a point.
If I'd rated it a 4, would you get the point?
We would have tied.
We would have tied?
Yeah.
Okay, we can tie if you want.
It doesn't matter.
To be fair, I do want to be clear. I have no memory of any of my predicted ratings.
There's a reason.
So I definitely didn't give this movie a 4.5 because I predicted I'd give it a 5 because I have no memory of any of that stuff. I'd forgotten we even did that game.
I blacked out all of the scores because I don't want to see them. I don't want any of us to see them. I want us to forget about.
Oh yeah, no, and they have been forgotten.
Yeah.
I keep forgetting.
Yeah,
we
I've
even
forgotten
did
what
that.
I've predicted for most of the films on our list.
same.
So
All of them.
it's a fun little bonus point system.
Yes, it's a nice tiebreaker.
Well, today we're going to be discussing maybe the polar opposite of Gretel and Hansel. This week was Cleveland's pick.
Yes, it was.
As we mentioned at the beginning, and as you heard from the glorious introduction, we're going to be talking about a film from 1991 called The Guyver.
Direct to video.
Direct to video.
Was it? Oh, lovely. I didn't even know that.
Directed
Awesome.
by two people, one with the unassuming name of Steve Wang,
How about the other?
and the other one is somebody called Screaming Mad George.
And this is his magnum opus. This is the only film he ever directed.
The film stars Mark Hamill, kind of, and
You can put quotes around starring.
Michael Berryman is also in it, and what's the dude from?
The dude from Good Time is in it.
Yeah, well,
The show.
Yeah.
Not the film.
No.
Good Times.
Yeah.
Jimmy Walker is in it, and we'll get to that.
Yes, we will.
And
boy.
also, what's his face? David Gale, who is from Reanimator.
Well,
That was
there's
nice.
a lot of bit parts from a lot of great horror legend character actors like Linnea Quigley and Sean
Yes.
and Jeffrey Combs.
Yeah, Jeffrey Combs, nice little cameo. This movie is produced by Brian Usna. We
Yes.
should mention that. Who produced a shitload of H.P. Lovecraft adaptations
Produced
in the 80s and
Reanimator.
90s.
He directed the Fantastic Society that I'm sure we'll talk about at some point.
He produced From Beyond. He also wrote Bride of Reanimator and Beyond Reanimator, and I think he directed Beyond Reanimator as well. So Brian Usna has a rich legacy in kind of like fun
trash.
fun B movies with, great effects.
Yeah, apparently also directed Silent Night, Deadly Night 4 and 5.
Oh yeah,
So
I forgot about that.
we'll have to cover those at some point.
So I was pleasantly surprised to see his name in the opening credits, but this movie's like nasty Power Rangers.
Yeah.
Cleveland, why don't you tell us a little bit about The Guyver, since it was your pick?
Oh boy. Okay, so The Guyver is a very, very interesting movie. I first came across it tangentially when I was a freshman in high school, just browsing like YouTube trailers, and I came across like some cool like spooky movie trailers that I still haven't seen. One of which was The Guyver, the other was like Dark City, and a few others, and I was just like looking up like weird old spooky movies or whatever. And the trailer for this movie like stuck in my head for years because the costume specifically. I might have been like looking up weird Metroid cool like power suits and stuff and other like Sentai related content. Not hentai, Sentai. That's
Why don't you
big thing to
define
note.
Sentai for us?
Power suit like action films largely coined by Ultraman. But yeah, it's all about like guy in a
Power
power
Rangers.
suit. Yeah, exactly. Is where you would quintessentially like they are the quintessential Sentai. But yeah, martial arts, cool suit, usual fare.
And this film, we realized kind of after the fact, or while we were watching it, is based on a manga and an anime. Neither of which any of us have been exposed to.
Yeah, I've looked up a lot of art from the manga. I haven't read it, but there are some fun designs. There are some very fun like power suit, like very alien kind of spooky cyber suit designs.
Man, do you know that meme where it's like the manga, the anime, and then the movie adaptation?
Yeah.
I feel like this movie is the quintessential version of
Right,
that.
it's like you don't even have to do anything.
Oh yeah.
From what I was looking at, like the anime and the manga look pretty cool if you're into that kind of thing, but this movie is bizarre.
Yeah, man. It's so tonally all over the place. Like,
It really
You
is.
gotta start with how fucking wacky the tone is. We've got R-rated gore sequences, and then like kooky like piano bits with like quippy one-liners like in the same scene.
At times it almost felt like the tone of like the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Yeah,
Like that live action one.
It's like the movie's like afraid to take itself seriously at any point. Anytime it tries to for a moment, it undermines itself with like some like kooky, not funny, generally like wacky bit.
Or it just undermines itself with the same transition cut. You know?
Yeah, like a lightning bolt cut across the screen with a little music sting. Like,
almost every cut between scenes.
It's weird because it is literally between every scene in the first half of the movie, and then about halfway in the movie they abandon it entirely.
Well, I'm glad because I you know, in one respect, I was getting tired of it.
No, I never once. I laughed
either,
every time.
At the same time, I almost thought, you know, it would have been funnier if they kept it throughout. But like, it didn't work tonally.
The tonal disparity, I think, is something that's very much worth talking about, because I would say that this is maybe the most childish movie we've ever watched and talked about on the podcast. And like, we did an episode on The Dark Crystal, so like, that's saying something.
No, The Dark Crystal is way more mature than this film is.
The totally bizarre thing about this movie is, like you said, it's got like some body horror stuff. Like it's very like the suit is, you know, sort of a biological organism. The monster, like the
like
enemies,
insectoid even, like it's cool. You know?
The enemies are like weird human animal monster hybrids.
Let's be real, like the suit is like if David Cronenberg designed a superhero.
Yeah.
Like it's awesome. Like it's like all beetle-like and it has like insect eyes and like it's got like weird like biotic components, a very like phallic like head fin, mechanical like mouth things that steam. Like the idea like is so cool. I love it. I cannot get enough of the suit design.
When the suit like goes off, it like retracts into like these holes in the back of his neck that are like
it's gooey and gross.
They're like scabby and like
It's like all wet and like rubbery. Like it's a really like textured suit, and it has like cool like ribbing in the interlocking sections. Like it's awesome.
The first scene of the movie is like one monster crushing another monster's head like between his hands, like viscerally. I mean, the movie is rated PG-13, so it's not like gratuitous, but all of this shit that we're talking about, but then the approach of the actual storytelling is just Power Rangers. It is like the most dumbed down, childish storytelling and approach to it, and it's
like baby brain.
It is, yeah. It made me feel like I was up at like 7 a.m. on a Saturday morning to watch Power Rangers again.
Yeah.
And then there's some weird body horror stuff, and I'm like, what? Wait, what?
Yeah, like why is there Cronenberg in my Power Rangers? Like
there's something that I love about that, but at the same time, it's
very off-putting.
It's unsettling.
Yeah. And again, like I don't think it's necessarily like unsettling in a bad way. Like I'm probably gonna give it points for that.
It's weirdly charming.
Yeah.
For
what did you say during the film, Tease? Like this is like an incredibly like adorable. Like what was the word?
Oh
you used?
yeah, I know. I said this movie is adorable.
Yeah.
Because there's in many ways like
it's like bless its heart.
It has lower production value than Power Rangers did in many ways.
Oh yeah.
The fight choreography is practically non-existent. Like most of it is just people in rubber suits kind of generally flailing at each other.
The combat is better in Power Rangers.
It legitimately is.
Yeah. Like
and the Guyver suit has these elbow blades that are like his main weapon, but when he's fighting they're flopping around because they're obviously rubber and they didn't put any kind of bracing inside. It's got like this like Saturday morning cartoon action music over the whole thing and like Mickey Mousing all over the place.
Yeah, there's like tinkly piano bits.
Yeah, like when
stuff,
people
like,
are sneaking and it's like an hour into the movie, like we're just watching yet another rubber monster quote unquote fight scene. I'm just like, this movie's fucking adorable.
And you get like this like half-second pauses in dialogue too, where it's just like we'll get into the dialogue in a minute, but like this movie has such an over-reliance on the getting punched so hard you get thrown bit for the sake of avoiding like any legitimate martial arts. Every time someone gets hit, there's just a cut to them getting thrown into the shot. The combat is a bunch of guys in rubber suits leaping into shots. It's not good, but there's such a charm to it.
It is like, very charming, and I'd much rather take something like that than just bad fight choreography shown for a really long time.
This movie is adorable in the way that like your 4-year-old nephew bringing you a picture that he drew of you in school to hang on your refrigerator is adorable. Like it looks fucking terrible. It's a piece of shit.
Yes.
But he's so earnest and excited about it and like genuinely wants to like make you happy and proud of it that like you can't be upset.
I think earnest is a great way to describe it because there's a true earnest lack of self-awareness that I really respect in a lot of ways.
Like you can tell that like pretty much everyone affiliated with the production didn't give a shit but had fun. Just like, fuck it. We'll just, throw in the shot. Like,
well, that's the thing is like there are like a handful of pretty well-known character actors in this movie. Certainly most notable would be Mark Hamill, and he is phoning it in completely.
Yeah.
He could not give two shits about this movie.
The funniest thing is like even with Mark Hamill phoning it in compared to the actors surrounding him, he's still putting on the best performance. Like, that's the thing because he's absolutely phoning it in. Like he could give less of a shit.
I would say
compared to the other actors, like he feels like a tired person in the scene who doesn't care, whereas the other actors are like plastic next to him and feel like artificial people.
The main actors, yes. I would say that the legitimate best performances in the film are veterans of other like B movies, like people like David Gale and Jeffrey Combs, who had made his entire career being in movies like this.
Oh yeah, no, they're the best actors in the movie.
They give the best performance because they have the most experience with this kind of stuff. Like Mark Hamill, he must have just really needed a paycheck for this one.
Yes. No, he absolutely doesn't care. Just next to the other two protagonists, like in those scenes, you see him with. But no, the Jeffrey Combs, like, whoa, what a hammed up performance.
Yeah, well, one of the things I think I realized really early on is this movie doesn't really care about too much outside of the effects.
Yeah.
I was looking into it after we watched it, and Screamin' Mad George was like a practical effects guy before he directed, which makes a lot of sense.
I think he was one of the suits as well, and he did some of the puppetry in the movie.
Brian Usna, he's definitely known for the attention to details with the practical effects and the body horror stuff, and I think a lot of that translates to some of the best parts of the movie.
Absolutely.
I think the effects really shine where all of the other parts of the movie really, flail around.
The story is incomprehensible.
Well, and
it doesn't make any sense.
It's such a bizarre, charming, like you said, mismatch between like a really, focused attention to detail with a lot of the effects for the most part. And
the elbow blades.
Yeah, the elbow blades are a good counterexample.
Could have put in a little bit more work there.
Lack of regard for the story for the most part. You know what it reminded me of, though? It felt like a movie that would be shown late at night on Adult Swim.
Yeah, I can kind of see that.
Oh, yeah, I can dig it. I can definitely dig it.
Because it has that same weird, mismatched feel to it where it doesn't feel like these things should go together.
Oh yeah, like here's the deal. Like when this movie is on, it's on as hell. Like I was caught off guard several times by like how cool like some of those practicals were. And when it's off, it is goddamn hilarious. Like it's so like charmingly like Troll 2 bad that I was having a wonderful time making fun of and laughing at this movie.
I had a blast watching.
Like we were laughing the entire time.
Stuff, is comically bad.
Oh yeah, like so.
Well, I mean, let's just talk about Mark Hamill's character in general.
Yes.
First of all,
Dad Pants Mark Hamill.
The cover leads us to believe that Mark Hamill is the main character.
The cover, like if you Google it, is a split image of the Guyver's helmet and Mark Hamill's face.
So you would rightfully assume that he is
Mark Hamill's
Guyver.
the fucking Guyver.
Yeah.
He's not.
Right. But here's the weird thing. He has as much screen time as the protagonist. There was
Yeah.
literally no reason Mark Hamill couldn't have done it, couldn't have been the Guyver in this movie. It's such a, what the fuck? What was up with that? Like, why wasn't he the Guyver?
I have no idea. The guy who does play the actual Guyver, what's his name? Jack Armstrong. He is so fucking flat. He could not act his way out of a wet paper bag. Mark Hamill's already phoning it in, so why don't you just make him the Guyver? Because his character otherwise serves no real purpose. Their characters could do the same thing.
Completely. Like, yeah, they really could have been the same person.
Yeah,
like, we
Mark
could have had
Hamill's-
our CIA agent also like be practicing karate. We could have done all of it.
Right, he's a CIA agent, but he looks like your stepdad. Like, he's got his pants up to his nipples.
He's got such a stepdad look
He's
going
got
on.
this
Like,
weird.
oh my
he's
God,
got this
yeah.
weird little mustache. He's just wearing like a t-shirt and like slacks. And
One of my favorite shots of the movie is one of the first shots we get of him. He's just sitting in like a back alley on like a tall concrete ledge, just with his leg all the way up, smoking a cigarette. And it's just like,
It's such a stereotypical
Yeah.
shot. Like, it's one of the most stereotypical shots like I've seen in a minute. It's almost self-aware. Like, it's so, because it's got like the grisly like trash, and like there's the wire fence
the
and
graffiti.
yeah, it's like so
very,
like quintessentially late 80s. Like, it's amazing.
very Ninja Turtles.
Extremely Ninja Turtles.
Which is not the only Ninja Turtle comparison. We've got fucking Bebop and Rocksteady in this movie.
Yes, we
too.
do. And also, our damsel in distress. Yeah, Vivian Wu. That's her name.
Okay.
The actress's name. She was also in the Ninja Turtles live action movie.
Oh, was she? I didn't even
Yes.
recognize. I haven't seen that in forever.
Yeah, she's been in a lot of films. She's a Chinese actress. Has been in a host of movies. I was looking at her IMDb page. I was very surprised.
Well, she is terrible in this.
Yeah,
she is awful.
I'm gonna not be a racist gremlin.
It seemed like almost all of her lines were dubbed over.
Yes.
Like,
It seemed like by a white actress.
Doing an Asian accent.
Yeah.
I might be wrong, but that is what a lot of that sounded like.
It felt stereotypically like that, regardless of whether it was her or not. There was like a lot of put-ons.
Yeah, that's a maybe a good segue into some of the other more problematic aspects of this movie.
I think we could say the most problematic aspect of this movie,
Yeah.
by
Yeah.
far,
Yeah.
is
So our Bebop and Rocksteady are, just two dumb henchmen. One of them's like a big fat Russian guy,
which
and the other
is Peter Spellos. He's been a voice actor in pretty much every like quintessential anime ever.
well,
English dub guys.
Yes.
he's sort of incidental. The other one that we need to focus on is fucking Jimmy Walker from Good Times, Dynamite Jimmy Walker, who plays Stryker. Is that the character's name?
Yeah.
He's like a jive talking like street guy, and when he transforms into his monster version, it's pretty fucking racist.
Yeah, so before he even becomes he transforms into his monster form, he's doing this like Dolomite, like
He's a caricature,
like, like, I'm so cool, I'm gonna fuck up all the fools.
He's
like
playing his character from Good Times, basically.
and it's just like, oh yeah, it's a trip.
What's even worse is he is very much the comic relief
Yes.
of that group. And when he transforms, there's a reason I mentioned racist gremlin. He looks like a racist gremlin.
like a minstrel character.
Yes, it's very minstrelly, big
Combined
lips,
with-
bug eyes.
Yeah.
He has chains on even though he transforms.
Right, when he transforms, his clothes disappear, but his chains stay.
Yeah, like if you're looking for like a racist gremlin, like picture in your head like one of the gremlins from the Gremlin movies, and then picture one that would be like outrageously racist, and that's it. That's the design. 50% of his head mass is lips. Like, it's ridiculous. It is
Well, and that's the
it is
thing,
like
too.
wildly
and
like,
he's in a huge part of this
That's That's
movie.
the
It is
thing too.
extremely,
I don't have a problem with Jimmy
Yikes.
Walker being a comic relief character.
No, not
but
at all.
if you're gonna make him a racist gremlin, it just screams minstrelry to
Yeah,
me.
Yeah.
And that's yikes.
It's a bad look. It puts Jar Jar Binks in a whole new perspective.
Really bad.
Wow.
Yeah. And like
Also,
I said,
to be clear too, like when he does the rapping, I think his raps rhyme once. None of his raps rhyme. It's really weird. Like he says them in like a rap meter, but nothing actually.
He raps
rhymes.
like he's in the Sugar Hill Gang.
yeah, it's like, my name is Stryker, and I'm here to say I'm gonna take that Guyver in a major way, like that kind
No,
of.
that's too
shit.
good. That rhymed. That rhymed. My name is Stryker, and I'm here to say I'm gonna take Guyver out of town. Like that's what his raps are like. Like it's like they don't rhyme.
And like I mentioned, like even though he's just one of the henchmen, he probably has the most screen time out of all of the monsters. Like it really felt like that was the suit that they were most proud of, and that's pretty bad.
Puppetry wise, it's well made.
Oh,
like,
yeah, I
it's
mean,
got like
yeah.
the ear flaps flapping around and like all the
design is bad. The execution, like it's
terrifying.
Yeah, I would say that most of the monster suits are pretty good. There are a couple of examples, like when they're chasing our hero and Vivian Wu into the warehouse, and it's like we have like the three main monsters that we've seen so far, and then we cut outside, and these two guys in suits pull up in a car, and it's like, okay, are they with the CIA or something? They walk into the into the warehouse and like walk up to the monsters, and they're like, aha, the team's all here.
Like, who are these guys?
And then they turn into very bad looking, cheap. One of them's like a big snakehead monster, but the snakehead is just kind of like flopping around, and it's unarticulate. You can just see the rubber bending.
No
when it
articulation.
moves.
You never get a close up of their suits. Like
And-
they were clearly ashamed of them, which is why like they just kind of like brush off those
And
characters.
they both
Spend money on them,
They
so
die
they don't want to
immediately.
and
not
they both
have
die.
them in
Yeah, they
that.
both die immediately.
They made
These-
those suits for kill shots.
It's like,
and that was it.
the team's all here. These two characters we've never seen before. and then they immediately get killed. Those ones are pretty fucking bad looking.
Mm-hmm.
That's such a funny trope, though, just having characters show up that haven't been in the rest of the movie and acting like they've been there the whole time.
Yeah. The other two main monsters, fucking Peter Spellos, he's got this cool like fish tapir design.
Yeah.
It's pretty fun.
I love his little like tapir nose flapping around.
and they just have like
And it has articulation like a couple of times. Like it actually like moves around.
Well, I don't think
most of the time it was just waggling, but there was one or two times.
It looks like
I think
they're doing it with it on a string, and somebody
yeah.
from that's the kind of articulation it has. But and Michael Berryman's monsters, he's like the main henchman.
Yeah.
Michael Berryman is like the weird looking dude from the original Hills Have Eyes, famous horror character actor. Those suits look pretty good. They're pretty fun. But yeah, those two guys who just show up to die immediately. In many ways, this film is kind of like the anti-Power Rangers, because it's not like about a team of heroes fighting like one monster. It's like one hero fighting like a team of monsters.
Mm-hmm. And the monsters really do like have like a team dynamic, like
Absolutely.
they're trying to work together and whatever else against this Guyver, and that was definitely like a big part of the charm. You still kind of get a little bit of both with that, even though they're bumbling and evil.
I mean, there's always a very fun Power Rangers-esque hero villain dynamic. You know, in that way, it does feel very much like the Power Rangers. The monsters are always like trash talking and stuff like that.
Speaking of the trash talking, let's get into the dialogue a little bit and how it really didn't feel like it was written by a native English speaker.
Yeah, it reached like Room-esque levels at times where like they were just obviously so insistent on reading the lines the way they were written, even though they didn't have the meter or cadence of an English sentence.
No one ever feels like they're responding to each other. They're just like saying words, like when they're supposed to say words. There's a back and forth at the end with Guyver and Zoa Lord, and
Yes.
it is utter nonsense. And it goes on like it's trying to be like good guy versus the bad guy, their dialogue before they begin their fight. And it's just each of them saying like quintessential action movie lines at each other with no connection between the two. Like, you're going down. It's my time to rule the city. Not if I can stop you. I'm gonna stop you now. Time for you to die. Like there's no no connection between each other.
It felt very anime.
Yeah,
in a way.
Poorly translated, like weird stuff. But again, like the production crew, like all seem to be like English speaking, like American. Weird, very weird.
Yeah, it's strange. I would really pass that off as just like terrible direction. Like you can really tell that Screamin' Mad George was not a director before this movie.
One thing I forgot to look up, I wanna see now if I can find images of and see if like Stryker was a character in the manga, because I want to know if he's like a racist gremlin in the manga too. It looks like Stryker is not too dissimilar. Well, no, he doesn't have the big lips. He just has like massive teeth. He looks way cooler. Like that. I think that's Stryker on the right there. Like he's got like huge teeth.
Oh yeah. He doesn't look like a racist gremlin at all.
Sorry, that's probably not good podcast content because you can't see the pictures.
One of the Stryker freestyle raps.
Oh, excellent.
Oh, thank you.
Let me go for it here. I've been looking high, I've been looking low, for the Guyvin' jiving thing to show. And now this punk's become a hunk, when all he's had the soul. Well, let me show you one thing.
What?
I'm gonna boot this thing with the Guyver name. I'm gonna make you crawl and make you sing, because I want that Guyvin' jiving thing. Boy.
It's so fucking stupid.
Oh my god. It's just words.
I would, you know what? That's a great transition into one of the other very confusing things about this movie is the motivations of generally anybody. But as you heard from the intro at the beginning, the Guyver on an alien is just it says an ordinary shield. But on a human, it gives them extra powers. Why do the aliens want the Guyver so bad?
I think that they want the Guyver on a person who can wield it.
I figured they just
never
don't want it in
But
the hands
they don't
of
say it. I'm
humans.
reaching when I'm definitely reaching right
Because
now.
quote unquote humans are weapons made by the aliens.
Made by the aliens. The humans are the ultimate biological weapon.
And if you put the Guyver on a human, you're essentially making a super nuke.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, which we did see, but like the aliens, the Zoonoids really want the Guyver back, but it won't do anything special for them.
It seems like Zoolord is the only actual original Zoonoid. The others are all people who were turned into the creatures.
Right, but they're creatures now, so the Guyver won't do anything for them.
Yeah.
So why does the Zoolord want the Guyver so bad?
I don't rightly know.
Me either. That's what I'm saying.
Because we know that the Zoolord, his goal is world domination, and he thinks that the best way to achieve world domination is to run a corporation, which is so capitalist. I love it.
I mean, he's right.
Yeah.
like that's aged better, I think, than they intended.
I know. I think that's so funny. It's like the aliens founded the evil Kronos Corporation. It's like, yep, that sounds about right.
Yeah, like
Jeff Bezos.
Bezalord, yeah, it works surprisingly well. It's got a fun like Anunnaki kind of like they're lizard people in the White House kind of vibe, which I think brings
He
us
basically says that out almost directly.
What I'm assuming is your favorite line in the movie. Like we all died. Like I think during that bit, like I was in tears. There's really no point in like running through the plot in this plotless film, but like towards the end, like Vivian Wu's character is just like like
she's been captured and taken to the Kronos Corporation.
She is just the ultimate princess in the tower in this movie. Like it's rough.
She's in a literal tower.
Yeah, and she's shown the secret test tube room where Zoalord is turning people into hideous creatures, and they're all his failed experiments, and she could be one too. And he's being like really uncomfortably rapey. Like that's another
thing.
problematic thing with this movie.
Rapey.
I was not happy with that. He like points at one of these like hideous abominations, and he says, "Imagine one of these in the White House." And we're all just sitting here in like 2020, just being like, man, too real, too real.
I mean, it really goes to show that in 2020 we're seeing that the Zoonoids scheme came to being.
Yeah,
they are amongst us and running everything. We need the Guyver, damn it.
The Guyver, I think, predicted the future better than Asimov ever could have dreamed.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Guyver had a more optimistic view of the future because he did defeat the Zoalord at the end.
That's true.
The Diablo turtle.
Yeah, which were amazing creature designs. I loved Zoalord's final form, like just a big like Diablo turtle tortoise creature.
That one, honestly, like that was one of the worst effects, I think.
I loved it.
I mean, it was fun, but the final fight scene between Guyver and Zoalord gave me flashbacks to Rock and Roll Nightmare.
It's what the ending of Rock and Roll Nightmare, I think, was picturing in its head. Like with the guys who were making Rock and Roll Nightmare, like this is what they were imagining their ending scene looked like. And I love the idea that that is what Rock and Roll Nightmare was trying to achieve.
Yeah.
It's amazing. We get like big rubber arms like coming down, like trying to stomp on Guyver and him rolling out of the way, and like fun like puppetry in their mad scientist
He
lab.
jumps on top on the back of its neck and uses one of his wrist blade or his elbow blades to cut off one of his horns.
Mm-hmm. So they actually built like a giant rig for this turtle lord, which you gotta respect. It's not like a model.
They put some work into it. It doesn't look great, but like
but effort was made, and it's fun. It's a big puppetry device, and I'll still take that over like a bad CG monster like any day.
I will say what was somewhat of a disappointment to me is that Zoalord's final form was not bigger, and that the Guyver didn't also get giant, and then they fight in the city. I was really wanting that.
You wanted that Ultraman like final form moment.
Yeah, or the Power Rangers. I wanted the reverse of the Power Rangers, where the Guyver just grows really large, and then all of the monsters combine to form Mega Zoonoid.
Well, that's essentially what Ultraman was, the original like Sentai series.
Okay, but
his whole bit is he grew super large and fought the monsters.
Okay, but I haven't seen Ultraman, so I'm going off of what I have seen, Power Rangers. But yeah, there was none of that, and there was never anybody jumping into a pose and then something exploding behind them. I really wanted that, and that never happened either.
We did get a fun explosion, though.
We did. At the end, there was a pretty fun explosion, and there were plenty of unnecessary backhand springs, which is something else that I would expect from this movie. And probably the most impressive stunt in the film was just some backhand springs.
Yeah.
The fighting is not good.
No.
The final fight scene, though, with like all of the monsters in like the control room and Guyver trying to fight them while Vivian Wu and Mark Hamill just kind of like crawl around trying to not be eaten, is pretty funny.
Oh yeah, because they do some like Benny Hill like level stuff with them like running across the shot, playing like tinkly piano music while they're like trying to run away from like the little like porgy monster, and then cutting back to like Satan Tortoise like as he's like stomping around the lab. Like the tone is weird.
Later in that scene, we get maybe my favorite effect in the movie. When Mark Hamill transforms. It feels like it was ripped out of the thing. It was very fleshy and nasty and wet.
Yeah, the probably only legitimately impressive thing in the entire movie was
I was
that
floored by it.
I was not expecting it at that point.
Oh no,
either.
I mean up until this point in the movie, like we've seen like the cool like weird like Guyver suit in the neck effects, and the scientist getting like charbroiled like at the beginning of the film. Some other like slightly fun little like kind of Cronenberg-y effects, but it was always like hedging on that. And then in this sequence, well, right beforehand, we see like Mark Hamill come out of the tube and him getting saved, and you think everything's fine, and then they're trying to leave the lab, and he grabs his chest and groans and falls to the floor, and there's a "go on without me," you know, sort of moment. And then we get this outrageous shot of him like collapsed on the ground, and like his neck starts stretching out and his skin starts bubbling, and like weird like insect legs start sprouting from him.
He turns into a giant cricket.
Yeah, and it's really horrifying. It's legitimately like Cronenberg-y body horror.
Not what I was expecting from the Guyver,
right.
like an hour and 20 minutes in.
And it had so little to do with the plot. Like, it was just really unexpected.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. I thought that it would be like, oh no, now he has to fight his friend who has become monstrous.
Yeah.
And no, Mark Hamill just dies immediately.
No, he just becomes like a big, like, horrible, wretched, and also pathetic cricket monster, and then dies.
Yeah, and then Zoolord in a moment of anime-esque monologuing is like, he wasn't in the soup for long enough. He's incomplete. If he had been in the soup for longer, then he would have been truly powerful.
Oh, and of course, like, we get the wonderful shot of like Zordlord gets like punched when he's still in his human form. Like he gets like punched through a wall, and again we have a guy flying off camera, like
into a dark hallway.
And then we get the wonderful shot of the two red eyes in the darkness, which are like just two LED lights. Like it's excellent.
And then they pull them apart, so
like you get the vibe that he's growing.
Yeah,
wonderful. I loved that. It was very fun. Reminded me of like the old like Halloween Wishbone episode with like the spooky eyes at the top of the stairs. Like it was very, very like Saturday
Except
morning.
then it turned out to be Diablo Turtle.
Yes. Yes, very fun. I think we covered all the fun practicals in depth. We covered the not so good fighting. We covered the not so good dialogue.
We covered the not so good racism.
Yeah, the weird fact that like Mark Hamill isn't the protagonist in this movie, even though like he is in as many scenes.
I do want to mention on the subject of Mark Hamill, the number of times that he and other people are running around with guns in this movie,
and don't shoot.
Never actually using them.
Yeah, they point guns at each other, but they never shoot. I think, we only have one shot in the movie where like he actually shoots at the monster.
And he misses completely.
Yeah, it's like they had they spent all their budget on the costumes. They didn't have enough for blanks.
I mean, there's the part too where before they transform, while they're still in their human forms, the Zoonoids are chasing Mark Hamill and Vivian Wu, and fucking Michael Berryman has a gun out, and he's like just running after them, pointing it, but not actually shooting. Also, everybody in this movie runs like a toddler. I don't know.
No one knows how to run correctly.
It's like they're all just taking like very small steps. Like the chase scenes are ridiculous because it doesn't look like anybody's actually chasing anybody. Once again, it's completely cartoonish. That's the stuff I liked, though. Do you guys want to rate?
Yeah. Should I start?
Sure.
It was my pick.
It was your pick.
I'll say it again. What I loved about this film, what I thought was legitimately good, was great. The Guyver suit, again, like 10 out of 10 like creature design for me. If we'd seen it with good choreography and not the flappy like arm blades, like I would love to see someone try and do this legitimately now. I would want to see like a Sam Raimi like Guyver movie or something. Like I think Sam Raimi would be a great pick for like a Guyver movie now. Really, there is an R-rated Power Ranger film would be awesome. Like I could really see our generation like getting down with like that.
Yeah, well, like Tease mentioned, there is a sequel, and the sequel is rated hard R. Yeah. You know, it is much more gruesome and gory from what I've heard.
Yeah,
which sounds great.
I have to talk about Guyver 2 at some point.
I would be very down with that. So, and when this movie is bad, it is so bad it's good. It is always laughable. We were entertained the entire film, and I don't think that was us reaching to try and find entertainment from it. I think it was,
I was
earnestly
genuinely
funny.
Entertained, yeah.
Like Troll 2 levels, room level dialogue. It's just nonstop, like rapid fire weird. I'm giving this movie a really strong 4. I had a ton of fun with it. It did leave me wanting a little bit with the fight scenes. I think if you're going to do a Sentai film, like, you've already got all of your monsters like in rubber suits. We can't see our protagonist's face. You can get like someone who can actually do like some kung fu, karate, Krav Maga, whatever, like in those shots. Come on, it's a Sentai movie. Like, I want to see some like good martial arts. That's the one thing like Sentai can actually bring to the table from like the 80s and 90s, and it doesn't do that. That's what's keeping it from being an absolute 5, because I loved everything else about this movie to bits, even what was bad. So yeah, strong 4 from me.
Well, I have one anecdote from the movie that I want to mention before I get too far into my rating. Sure. Is the weakness for the Guyver they find is
yeah,
his helmet has a big ball on his forehead.
Oh yeah,
and if you hit it, he
gets a bad headache.
Well, much like me, if you hit the balls,
you go down hard.
Yeah,
it's like it's the ultimate weapon. The Guyver suit is compared to like the modern atomic bomb. Like it's compared to like the ultimate weapon, and
his weakness is in the middle of his forehead.
It is literally a target on the center of his forehead.
His weakness is the balls, much like me. The reason I brought that up is this movie is, in a lot of respects, it's bad. The acting is bad.
Yeah. Oh, it's a bad movie.
The choreography is
yeah.
bad. A lot of the choices made in the movie are bizarre and questionable at best, but I had an absolute blast watching it, and I think part of the reason it works is because how bizarre and mismatched it is. Like I said before, it feels like a movie that would show up on like Adult Swim in terms of like weird tone and just bizarre choices. I'm going to give it a 3.5 out of 5. I think it's a lot of fun. I would definitely recommend checking it out.
Yeah, I can echo a lot of that. I really enjoyed watching this movie quite a bit. It had me laughing a lot. It's very fun. Like I said, it's charming, it's adorable, it's earnest, and it gets points for all of that. Where I do have to seriously deduct points is the fight choreography is inexcusably bad,
and the racist gremlin.
Well, yeah, it loses a big point for Stryker just as a character, and it loses a little bit more for how rapey David Gale is. These are the things that are legitimately unenjoyable about the film, but otherwise I had a great time. This was really fun. Good pick, Cleve. It's gonna be a 3.5 for me as well, which will give us a average of 3.7 out of 5 for The Guyver.
I was a little worried going into this one because like not worried, like, but I had the thought that I'd been setting up this film for literally months with you guys. I've been like foreshadowing, like, oh, you'll never guess what my pick is,
and we didn't.
Yeah, and I was a little concerned because again, like the last time I even watched a trailer for this movie was like well over a decade ago. I just looked up stills when it came to memory, and just like that was all that had kind of like had me wanting to come back and actually watch this movie. There's like a trailer I watched as my high school self, so I was pretty concerned that this movie was going to have a lot of boring moments in it. But even like the bad dialogue was fun.
Yeah,
so,
no,
like,
I was never bored. I was never bored.
Yeah, I was quite happy.
It's only an hour and a half, so it doesn't overstay its welcome at all. Mm-hmm. It just has several pretty problematic things, but other than that, it was fun. And I think this was a worthy pick for something you kept us in suspense with for so long, because I've never seen anything quite like this movie. So it was
whack.
It was extremely unique, and also I think a nice bit of variety after the last few episodes. We've been keeping really up to date with like new movies and serious stuff. So like it's nice to step into something like so fucking childish and stupid.
Yeah, like something you can really just turn your brain off to
Right.
and laugh at. It was super fun for that.
Well, speaking of choices,
Yes.
Ben's pick is next week.
Yes, so usually I'm so used to being the one picking the weird, funnier, horror movies, more left field choices. I'm so used to you guys picking the more, serious, scary ones. So I have a bunch of funny, weirder ones in the chamber for later this year, but I'm going to pull an audible here, and I'm going to pick something old, something classic, something foreign. I'm going to pick one of my favorites, this old Japanese horror film, Onibaba.
Yes.
Hell yeah. I haven't seen
one
Onibaba since
one
college.
of the most atmospheric horror movies I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, Onibaba is a good choice. I haven't seen that one in forever. I'm excited to talk about that again.
I've never seen it. It sounds like something I would enjoy.
It'll be very up your alley, Cleve, for sure. I think you'll really love Onibaba. So that'll be it next week. We're stepping even farther back into the past. Been a while since we've done a non-English language film on the podcast too, so I'm looking forward to that. Well, before we sign off, Cleveland, why don't you tell us who is our sponsor this week?
This episode is brought to you by the upcoming hit TV show The Guyver. He can craft bombs out of nothing and also fight aliens. Because, get it? Guyver sounds like MacGyver. That's the bit. You got it.
This summer on Fox.
It doesn't get any deeper than that. It's the Guyver, MacGyver. You got it. Good job. Good for you. I'm proud. I'm proud of you. Good job.
Do you think we'll ever get an actual MacGyver remake, or has MacGruber ruined the chances?
No,
of
dog.
that?
I think,
time.
honestly, I think in the next 10 years or so, we're going to see a serious MacGyver remake.
Oh, yeah.
Starring somebody like Chris Hemsworth. It's going to be like totally dark in tone. There's going to be terrorists.
Tonally dark in tone.
Totally dark in tone.
Oh, totally dark in tone. Totally.
Tonally.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like he's gonna have to figure out how to stop a terrorist nuclear threat using only the contents of like a 4-year-old's book bag,
Duct
like,
tape and a tube sock.
Yeah, right.
Well, I'm here for it.
It's coming, guaranteed. All right, well, that'll bring us to the end of this week's episode. If you like the show, go on to Apple Podcasts and leave us a 5-star rating and a nice review. That'll help get us into more people's ears, which is where we like to live, inside people's ears. And we would like to thank you for letting us live in your ears. You can also follow us on Twitter at PodPeoplePod or on letterboxd.com/PodPeoplePod, where you'll find a list of all the films we've talked about on the show with our average ratings and links to those reviews. Follow me on Twitter at Deep State Aussie if you like.
I'm on Twitter at Mr. Sheets.
And I'm occasionally tweeting for Light Arc Studios. We continue to work on our lovely super dark horror indie RTS RPG. It stares back.
Sentai.
It's spooky. It doesn't have Mark Hamill in it, but it does have fun.
The Noble Guide kind of looks like a Power Ranger.
He does. It's intentional.
So if you like Power Rangers, then check out It Stares Back. Now available on Steam in early access for $6 American at the time of this recording. Always got to mention that.
Maybe it's on sale, or maybe we've put out more content and we've upped the price.
It's more expensive now.
Yeah.
Get it while you can.
But still worth it. If we up the price, it's for a reason.
Get it while it's cheap.
Yeah. Or don't get it while it's expensive. We'll see more income. That's fine too. Follow your dreams.
All right. Well, I guess that's it. I'm gonna go protect my balls so I don't get defeated by the Zoa Lord.
Go stick an alien device on my forehead.